Hello, citizens of the internet. Welcome back once again to Zaz of Dragons. I am Zaz of Dragons. I just want to start off by acknowledging firstly that this is a channeling session that I did, a channeled message that I just performed. And I might start off also by saying that this was kind of a difficult channel for me to begin or to pull off in general. For some reason, and I get into it during the message, I experience a type of significant resistance to this type of energy that came through and was channeled today. And I ought to acknowledge that I felt a little overwhelmed and literally overheated actually at the end of the channeling. I literally say I get overheated and feel like I need to stop. So it's a bit of a short message today. Nonetheless, it's something that I believe ought to happen. I've been working more on practicing channeling, mainly next to recording equipment, which definitely places an interesting spin on things because it sort of more or less divides my attention, but obviously it's a skill to work on. There's no problem with that. So please enjoy the message, and we might even do a brief meditative exercise following the message in order to sum up the energy, to sort of finalize and set the energy, and rather than just drop it off with me getting overheated. So without any further ado, please enjoy this channeled message from the great Heavenly Mother herself. I'm focusing on my solar plexus and my third eye chakras in order to welcome the influence of spirit, welcome the presence of spirit, and also open myself up to experiencing spirit's messages. So, interestingly enough, the things that have come through already for me, first, interestingly enough, was Albert Einstein. I'm not quite entirely sure why the thought of him, or it was almost like I heard someone say his name. I heard spirit say his name, which was interesting. But the main message, well, the main energy that I'm experiencing right now as we get into this channeled message is the presence of the Virgin Mary. Now, this is very, very interesting to me because as someone who doesn't have any sort of background with the Virgin Mary or with Catholicism, outside, I guess, technically of an ancestral context, my family hasn't been involved with the Catholic Church for a number of generations, but the last generation was my grandmother's generation, who were interested in the Catholic Church. But for some reason, in the last couple of days, really since I received a message concerning the goddess and the nature of the goddess and how the elements relate to the goddess and how water is very important, if not the most important element, and then the earth is also very important. And when I was focused on the goddess, or rather I should say over the last couple of days as I've been thinking about the goddess, I've been consistently encountering the image or the energy of the Virgin Mary. And just yesterday, I was listening to a group of creators here on YouTube, and they mentioned the Virgin Mary in their discussion of magic and witchcraft. And that surprised me again, because I keep hearing Mary over and over again. So I decided that I would lean into the Virgin Mary, and I went and bought a devotional candle. Specifically, I grabbed Nuestra Señora de Altagracia, Our Lady of Altagracia. And it's currently burning. It's been burning for the last couple of days. Or I burned it the last 2 days. Nonetheless, what's very impressive to me about feeling the presence of the Virgin Mary is that she's really here mainly to acknowledge that, especially to me, to acknowledge that she is not what people often think she is. and basically, this ancient understanding of feminine spirituality and female divinity, and the forms and the names and the behaviors and the presence and the power and the results of the goddess and of these goddess energies. And she has come through to tell me that even then she's not fully understood. She is so expansive, and she's so much more than what people assume she is, especially because really what's going on is that because of cultural patriarchy, people have become very disconnected from her and disconnected from mainly her within themselves. They've become disconnected from the parts within themselves that help them to experience her and to feel her more often and more potently. And so she's come to me specifically to show me that this Virgin Mary is exactly what she's talking about. Whether you look at the Virgin Mary, or you're looking at Yemaya, or you're looking at Isis, or you're looking at Ishtar, or Kuan Yin, or Aphrodite, doesn't matter. And of course, I acknowledge that these individual icons and these different, I guess you might call them figures or whatnot, personalities or deities, they are separate, but they, in my opinion, work almost like elemental forces, in that they represent a sort of archetypal elemental force. If you catch what I'm saying, they represent an archetypal force that appears again and again throughout cultures, throughout history. And although the energy never stays in the same exact, it never shows itself the same way. It consistently does the same things over and over again. And I of course mean that between cultural groups and across history, because she is consistent. She is very consistent, and she's very consistently diverse. Very consistently diverse. And she's not the only energy that does this. However, with that said, I am really feeling the presence of this Marian personality and this Marian archetype, this archetype of a soft mother, a gentle mother, the compassionate mother. And there's also this sort of trend of virginity or celibacy that is often quite paradoxical, but actually it serves a purpose. They serve mythological purposes. Nonetheless, the message that's being passed on is to lean in to the goddess and lean into spiritual femininity, divine femininity, to lean into the softer, gentler side of yourself, to lean into the side of yourself that isn't a performance for other people, that isn't basically determined by your relationship to other people. This is something for you. And that's what she's been telling me. She's been saying basically outright, we all understand that you're not a Christian witch, and I don't have any interest in practicing with Christian elements, but she specifically came to me and said, you need to accept and recognize this energy, this archetype. You need to recognize this personality, and you need to invite this energy into your life. So I did. I went and I bought a Virgin Mary candle, devotional candle, and I've been burning it, and it's excellent. And I understand her relationship and her syncretization with other goddesses across various pantheons. But I specifically invite that energy, which is being shown to me. So the other thing that she's telling me is you need to be willing, and this is a message for all of this. This is the message that she's putting out for us. We all need to be, including myself, I need to be more willing to accept things and change in ways that I had previously not wanted, or previously thought undesirable, or maybe even incorrect. Whatever the case may be, including for you, the goddess, as the Virgin Mary, is saying, do not fight yourself. Allow yourself to change in ways that you would have never expected. and to allow yourself to embrace things that currently and even previously you would never have allowed yourself to embrace. I've been growing a lot recently, and as far as doing exactly that, which is why I'm not surprised that she's here to remind me of that exact lesson. To do things authentically means to do things regardless of other people's opinions. And that, for me, is hard mainly because I fear being seen and being misinterpreted by people. So she's, of course, reminding us, do not fear misinterpretation. It is not your fault when you are misinterpreted. It is not your fault when people fail to understand you, when people fail to bother looking into context. People just immediately jump to conclusions without thinking, and that is not your fault. You're not to blame for that. So do not fear misinterpretation. The other message that Mary has for us today is that many people are in a transitional state right now. They're in a transitory state, and they are looking for their next place to go. There's a lot of pieces moving, and there's a lot of pieces that need to be fit into place. So she is saying to us, go with the flow. Now is the time to go with the flow and act. Don't overthink. Don't overanalyze. Don't fear. Don't worry about misinterpretations. Don't worry about it. Just do. Just move and go and fit yourself into a new place, because now is the right time. And so many other people are looking for a new place to go. If you have been interested recently in transforming your life for the better in whatever way, now is easily the most auspicious time to do so. And she wants to remind all of us that where we land is correct for us. Even if the journey is frightening, where we are headed is better. So you must go. You must not hold yourself back. You must not let fear hold yourself back, because huge things are happening. Massive spiritual changes are occurring. Massive physical changes are occurring. The entire world is shuffling its cards. And where you land up is exactly where you need to be moving forward. So do not be afraid to get there. She also wants to remind us that people are not moving at the same pace. Some of us are moving slower, some of us are moving faster, and so we must be patient and understand that, for example, if you are 90% of your journey is finished, you're so close to the end, whether you know it or not, but if you're 90% there and someone else is 75, even when you get to 100 and that person's not caught up yet, you need to be patient and wait for them to fit into their place before you obviously, judge the situation as being good or bad. What I mean is, once you've landed in your spot, once you've found your place to be, don't get up and move. Don't let the anxiety of waiting for others cause you to overthink and overanalyze and misinterpret and then get up and run away and leave. Because you had something and then you let it go because you were being impatient. She reminds us, please be patient. Let everyone get into place before we judge. And really, the time scale is an entire year. This entire year, all of 2026, is going to be an incredible time for transitions and movement, and even looking forward the next decade. So if it doesn't happen to you in this next year, understand there's an entire decade's worth of energy available. So much can happen between now and the 2040s. So much good can be brought into the world, and that is exactly what the gods and goddesses are looking for. Are looking for. They are creating a new world for us and creating a new world out of us. And we need to be willing to be created, to be recreated for our benefit. And with that said, I'm feeling an overwhelming sense of heat, and I'm really feeling like now is the time to stop the reading. I want to thank you all so very much. This channeling exercise has been wonderful. And again, thank you so much for joining. Right, lovely. So that was the channeled message that I received today. And I just wanted to do a brief meditative exercise in order to to resolve the energy of our channeled message today. And I'm clearly being instructed by Spirit to focus on the presence of the spirit that I mentioned earlier, Albert Einstein, and how the presence of Albert Einstein and why that was significant, And it's actually interesting. I have had this image of Albert appear to me more than once, but in fact, it usually happens in conjunction with the appearance of another male spirit named Edgar Allan Poe. And just allowing myself to sit here and feel the presence, I realized that part of a reading that I received concerning my personal life told me that because of my astrological placements and because of obviously the current astrological state of the world in 2026, part of what I'm being asked to do is to embrace Jupiter energy. Embrace more expansive, authoritative, competent, and masculine energies. And just during this short meditation that I just began here before recording, it became extremely evident to me, obvious to me, in fact, from the spirits themselves who said we are representing that Jupiter energy, that Jovian energy that I personally connect with in my astrological placements. Specifically, I'm a Jupiter in Aquarius. And so these men of high intellect, men who were renowned historically for their intellects, are attracted to appearing to me for that exact reason, and that they are actually manifestations of Jupiter energy. They are manifestations of Jupiter for me. And what is interesting about this message that I'm receiving from them as well is that they are specifically here to allow me to channel their Jovian energy and say that they are here to assist in this work, to assist the work of moving people around. Again, when I was saying people are being moved around like puzzle pieces and are having to fit into new places, better places, Jupiter is a huge part. And specifically the air qualities, the aerobic qualities, elemental qualities of Jupiter are very important in reshuffling, reorganizing our lives and our societies. And moreover, they're saying that they want other people to recognize the divinities within them. They want people in this postmodern world to start recognizing more often the presence of gods, the presence of divine archetypes in other people, in our ancestors, in ourselves, in our descendants, as well as in the various elements of nature, animals, plants, the sky, the ocean, the land. And this Jovian spirit wants to express itself to people in the form of successful men, responsible men, smart men, capable men who literally lived and died, because the gods are in all of us. And they come to some of their highest expressions are literally in people, flesh and blood people. The gods are not these airy, fairy, mysto, Christo, invisible, intangible, inobjective, I guess, things. They are people, often. Literal people, like you and I. And with that said, I feel a more resolved, a more resolute close to our message today. It was definitely a dual message. I needed to channel Mary first and Albert and Edgar second. And also I'm remembering, I'm seeing the third guy. I knew there was a third, and I just wasn't thinking. Nikola Tesla. Those three. Essentially a male trinity for Jovian energy, success, expansion, etc., etc. Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Edgar Allan Poe. An interesting combo. I don't know what it could mean. Those are just what's been the case for me. I've seen these three spirits multiple times, and they all just came today, which I think is really important and clearly has a purpose. So, again, thank you for listening. This is the real conclusion this time. Subscribe.